This is JCU Conversations, a podcast show from James Cook University, Singapore. Tune in as we ask experts in the industry more about their lives and their approach to success. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Let's listen to today's episode.
Hi, I'm Philip Forrest, and I'm privileged to be a member of the Board of Advisors and the chair of the Business School Advisory Subcommittee at James Cook University in Singapore. Our guest today is my good friend and hugely respected executive, change agent, and company director, Grace Ho. Grace has over 20 years' experience in corporate multinationals, 5 years as CEO and president at technology startups, and she sits as an independent director on 2 SGX-listed boards. She's been included in the Singapore 100 Women in Tech list for her inspiring leadership contributions, active mentoring, and advocacy in the technology sphere. When she isn't blazing trails as a corporate powerhouse, Grace is a fitness enthusiast who enjoys her weekly K-pop fitness and aqua aerobics sessions. She's certified as an aerobics instructor and physical trainer and a yoga instructor. Welcome, Grace. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Philip. Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. Really glad to be here.
Thank you. It's terrific to be with you at James Cook University. Now, Grace, you have a hugely impressive reputation for your roles in technology. Why tech? Tell us what you love about that sector.
That's a question I get very often. As you know, I am trained as a biochemist and microbiologist. That's my first degree. And I really landed in the technology sector by chance. And, I always say that's living proof that the tech sector is very open to talent who don't actually need to come from deep tech or in computer science. So when I landed my first job at the technology sector was really in sales and marketing, and really then sort of groomed a preference and an interest for the very fast-moving, dynamic industry. So what I really love about tech is that it's very vibrant, it's always changing, and it presents a lot of opportunities for one who has the appetite for that. In addition to that, I think what I've learned is as I transcend across different roles, the technology sector path towards success is one that is very collaborative and one that requires a ton of partnerships in order to make things happen for all of us to be successful. So I would say the other thing I like about tech is that it offers a lot of collaborative opportunities and partnership opportunities.
Okay, terrific answer. Thank you. Now, your career spans multinationals, technology startups, and now corporate governance with your board roles. Notably, you made a very significant shift from major corporations to the startup scene after being with multinationals for 20 years. And you've now built a portfolio career as a professional director. So can you share with us some of the main lessons that you've learned from being a part of these different environments?
Yeah, so I'm one that has been quite privileged to have worked for very prestigious logos, big tech multinationals, and also been able to transcend from large companies to really very small ones. So I would say that in my early years I always say that luck is a skill, but in the later years I realized that luck is actually a skill set. And what I really mean by that is that, one really needs to be open to learning and reskilling ourselves so that you create the optimal environment for luck to deliver, right, the promising opportunities that you can seize. So when I think about that, 5 things really serve me well. The first is being really competent in my craft. So, my strengths is really in sales, go-to-market, forging partnerships. So being really, really good at that and continuously sharpening my sword in that area. The second one is the environment that we live in is always so volatile, right? Things are changing all the time. Sure. So really very important that we must be extremely adaptable. and have the courage, right, to try things that are extremely different, and see where that takes us. So experiment when you can. I think the third area is really about staying relevant. And Singapore is very good at encouraging all of us to learn new things, to reskill ourselves, and likewise now I'm actually in the green space because I believe that I need to stay relevant, regardless of whether that's going to be my main portfolio or not. And then I think that the other area is really about effectiveness. Whatever I choose to do, I want to be effective, even as an individual contributor, a leader, a team, a board director. I think effectiveness is important because ultimately it's also about delivering value to the work that I choose to do.
Yeah, thank you. Another great answer. You touched on sustainability there, and we'll get to that in a bit more detail in a moment. But your role as a change agent involves driving business transformation and cultural change.
Right.
What challenges have you encountered in that respect, and how have you overcome those challenges?
That's a good question that I get a lot. So I spent a good number of years doing business transformation leadership role. And the honest truth is that in any transformational leadership role, the hardest thing to do is to transition people out of their roles or the company. And I've really learned that, in all transformation jobs, that is part and parcel of the responsibility of the leader. Therefore, when you're faced with a responsibility like this, it's extremely important actually to, number one, help the people transition with dignity. You transition them out of the company or the roles that they're in, but put yourselves in their shoes, have empathy, so that you actually allow them to forge a new runway for themselves. I think the other thing I've learned is also to lead with both the head and the heart. Extremely important not just to be very automatic about the things that you have to do, but think about what you can do in order to help not just the people who are transitioning, but also the team who are residing within the organization. I think the third one is really to also care about the people who remain in the organization because of the transition, and most of them will end up with new roles. So helping them forge that second and third runway is really very important. So helping them develop their new skill set, retraining, creating opportunities for them to take on new things so that they are better prepared in the event that they are impacted in the near future. And then I think finally, two things is, as a leader, important to walk the talk, because people learn easily when they watch what the leaders do. So I think walking the talk, be very conscious that you're really the role model all the time. And finally, it's very personal, but I have done so many transformation roles, and I've come to realize that displacing myself is part of the agenda. Because only when I displace myself can the younger team members actually move up to leadership roles. So in a way, I've become fearless, and I've also honed the skill set and the competency to be able to start all over again, and hence my portfolio career.
That's wonderful advice. That's fantastic. Thank you. Now, coming back to sustainability, we both touched on that.
Yes.
And of course, that's a key focus for most businesses today, I think. How do you approach creating sustainability strategies for growth? And what role, if any, does technology play in all this?
Now, that's a very pressing question for a lot of both my clients and also the companies that I work with. So I think fundamentally it really starts with level setting the entire organization on understanding the foundation about sustainability. And that includes the board level, the management level, and the entire employee base. So I'm a big advocate for training and getting everyone trained so that there is a solid foundation on what is sustainability, what does that mean to the company and the business. The second one is really leadership, because it is the task of the board and the management team to set the refresh strategy that infuses the environmental, social, and governance elements for the long-term benefit of the company. And only when you have that clarity and that strategy in place comes next the execution, which is the third piece, because execution means mobilizing and galvanizing the entire organization. As the saying goes, it takes a village, and it literally does. You need to feel that all the employees within the organization has a part to play and create a role for them, because because this is for the long haul. So I would say these are the three things that are actually essentially very important when we think about strategy for sustainability. And that's where I think technology can also come in as a very useful tool and accelerator for some of these plans. Technology, of course, in its most fundamental sense, is very useful when you have to collect data to really look at baselining where the company is at and then establishing metrics and KPIs for where the company needs to be at. So I think there's a lot of technology for data capture, data analysis, and also predictive analysis, because it's about scenario analysis so that the leadership can be thoughtful about what are the areas to invest in. The second area of technology is really squarely then impacting the elements of sustainability. For example, there are technology today that would actually help you reduce energy usage. It would help you look at reducing carbon emissions and hence overall carbon footprint. So I think these are examples of technology very, very targeted at energy saving. The other one is, of course, waste and waste treatment. There are technology today, especially in the recycling area, that actually helps company think through what does sustainable operations really mean. And then finally, I would say technology is also very useful in reporting. A personal favorite of mine is actually the use of blockchain. Because blockchain, as you know, is a tamper-proof ledger. So blockchain is able to then transport and provide transparency with regards to data and information that's collected. And that would translate then to hopefully more open and transparent reporting for the companies as well.
Okay, that's a terrific answer. Thank you. Now, let me give you the ultimate open question. You've had such a illustrious career. What are some of the most memorable moments or milestones in your career so far?
So I would call those moments my pivoting moments because throughout my career, I've always been pivoting from one point to another. So let me start in the early years where, when I'm a biochemist, I landed up in tech sales role. And then my first pivot was really quitting my job and going to Australia to do my full-time MBA. That was the first
Terrific
pivot.
decision.
Yes, of course, Australia, right? Why not? That was my first pivot. And I think that is significant for me because it allowed me to acquire new skill sets in finance, marketing strategy, even statistics, which subsequently became very relevant for marketing roles that I ended up in. The second one has to be when I took the leap to switch from sales and marketing roles into business transformation roles. And that was when digital transformation was just at the cups and that people were thinking about, okay, how do you transform the company, infuse more digital? So I actually took that leap of faith and took on this digital transformation leadership role at that time with SAP. I have to say my boss took a bet on me, right? I have no transformation leadership experience, but I have a lot of sales and marketing experience. But, they took a bet and made me the focal point to help the organization look at transforming. So that's another pivotal moment because subsequently, transformational jobs became fairly important for many companies who were looking at survival and were looking at growing for competitive advantage. The third one is, of course, transcending from MNCs to very small local startups, really going from a ton of resources to almost no resources, and a day in a life office really getting my fingernails dirty in everything. But that was really fun. I realized that I get very energized when I'm actually at the front end, where the firefighting with the team and really being in the trenches, to go win the deals. That was very satisfying. I think two others would be the opportunity came when I was offered the board director roles in Lisco. Again, fresh, from the perspective of no listed company board directorship experience, but I took that up, and so far it's been wonderful, and I'm always learning and also looking to be an effective director. And then finally, it's really currently in my work in progress, right? I've decided to cross over to the green space. Yes. Verdict's still out. We don't know how that's going to pan out, but I have to say I'm enjoying myself a ton, and I'm learning and I'm meeting a lot of new people, and also really now finding areas of synergy and convergence from my past and treading that into my present and hopefully the future as well.
Okay. So the multinationals were great for learning. The startups are great for fun. Governance and directorships are great for excitement. And sustainability is a new path, and that's always exciting.
It is.
Okay. Thanks, Grace. So what are some of the current projects or initiatives that you're involved with at the moment that you're excited about?
Yes, because I have a portfolio career, so there are a few exciting things that are related and yet not quite related. So I'll start with my role at Go Impact Capital Partners, where I'm a consultant and trainer for them. And essentially what my remit is to drive the adoption of our ESG and sustainability curriculum by corporates in both Singapore and the region. And that's really exciting because every time I meet with a prospective client in the corporate, it's almost having a discussion about what does green mean to your company and what is your strategy today that is going to need to be refreshed, and how does training then fit in that to mobilize and galvanize your whole organization. So I find that very exciting because it's really touching the heart of every company. And it's relevant to all companies, not just a specific industry. So that is kind of like my daily grind right now when I get to see clients every day, every week. The second project is really in my board roles, because both the companies I have the privilege of serving on are on growth mode. So we're really looking at geographical expansion. So, business expansion beyond Singapore, even right to the Middle East. So that's a really interesting market that I have little experience in, but I've been there for business visits, and I think there's tremendous potential. And as you know, Middle East is traditionally, the core industry is really oil. So again, there's some relevance with the green space. This is the brown space, right? So how is the green and the brown, going to handshake? So as I'm there, I'm also keeping my sustainability lens very, very squarely on, and looking at what will it take to build an ecosystem of partners, right? To also start helping countries and businesses in those countries look at greening their industries. And then I think the third one is, in my other board, we're into real estate. As you know, real estate has a lot of relevance with green buildings, energy efficiencies. Again, I've been quite fortunate to be able to pull a set of partners, prospective collaborators to look at how do we work on projects together that will also drive the Singapore Green Agenda.
Okay, thank you. So total change of topic now. You've got an incredible resume in health and wellness.
Thank you.
So how did that all come about?
Yes, that's my hobby. So it really did start as a hobby because in my earlier years, I used to have regional roles with the multinationals, technology companies. And those were the days where I probably lift out a suitcase very often. And so whenever I landed in a country, I would try and fit a run in the gym. Because that was the most accessible and also the most efficient, right? You do a 30-minute run, you're rejuvenated, and then you get on with whatever you have to do. So what I realized is that as I was running, for quite a few years, I realized that I get bored because your body just get very competent with the routine. Then I started wanting to venture into weight training, but I didn't want to bulk up, right? So I realized that because I knew very little about weight training or strength training, I decided to then go into to take up a course actually and enhance my personal trainer certification. The motivation is always to take up a learning so that I can train it better and train safer, because I'm always training alone, right? It's not like I have a team of friends with me. So I did that for a couple of years so that I could straddle between runs and weight training, so that was quite fun. During those time, I also ventured into dance and music because I love music, and from my school days, I've always been involved with music, as you probably know, right? I was in the school band, and so I figured, movement and music is a good thing, right? And I even got my mom actually to do aerobics with me at one stage. So likewise, again, I realized that I was just following whatever the instructor was doing. I was just mirroring her, and I said, no, I think I should be more knowledgeable. So that's why I decided to do a certification, so that if I were the instructor, what were the different options, right? If I was not so active that day, I was tired, I could tone down so that without hurting myself. So that was the second motivation. And then I think, when COVID hit, I really wanted to keep up with my routine. I subscribed to a lot of YouTube fitness. So every day I would be doing something from the Fitness Marshall channel and something else. And And so I decided, okay, this is actually quite fun. And then I ventured into K-pop because of the YouTube training, YouTube programs that I subscribe to. And then when things open up in Singapore, we are very fortunate in Singapore that Health Promotion Board offers a ton of free fitness classes every day. And I live in the East, so I've managed to subscribe and attend a lot of the free training. And I found actually the K-pop fitness is really fun because it's challenging in terms of coordination, but the music really keeps me going, and it really gives me a good cardiovascular workout. So that's where I am right now, and I do aqua aerobics because as age catches up with me, you worry about your knees and your joints. So water-based sports are actually very, very good, for us when we age, and it's a great cardiovascular workout. So that's where I'm at with my fitness regime.
That's very inspiring.
Thank
well
you.
Done.
Thank
well
you.
done. So Grace, you've been so successful and you've learned so much in your career. But if you could go back in time, and this is the last official question, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give to your younger, say, 21-year-old self?
So at 21, that's officially transcending into adulthood, right? So now looking back, I would tell myself that life is all about how I handle plan B. Because life is never how you plan it out to be. There will be adversity, there will be challenges, there will even be crisis. So I think it's very important, that I understand how to handle plan B. When faced with adversity, be brave, choose to swim, not sink. I think choose to bravely shift gears, right, and see, where the new opportunities will bring me. And, aptly, today is 4th of July. I would say, may the force be with you. Thank you.
Okay, fair enough. Good response. Thank you.
Thank you.
Grace, it's been a fantastic discussion. Thank you so much for being here with us. I do have a final question, though. For people who might want to get in touch with you, it might be to talk about sustainability training. It might be about board opportunities.
Yes.
It might be just that they think that you're somebody they could learn from or enjoy meeting. How can people go about connecting with you? Online, presumably.
So the best way would be to look me up at Go Impact Capital Partners and find Grace Ho and connect with me there.
Go Impact Capital
Partners.
Okay.
On LinkedIn.
And on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn.
Okay. All right. Grace Ho, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.